Jack Ginnivan is once again in the headlines before a massive game of football. After Sydney's come from behind qualifying final win over GWS, ruckman Brodie Grundy uploaded a series of post-game photos with his teammates to Instagram. This was harmless and had the caption "Post-game snaps, finals edition." However, soon after, his former teammate in Ginnivan just couldn't help himself. He wrote in a comment on the post, "See you in 14 days." At the time of making this, that comment has over 3,000 likes and 130 replies. Clearly, Ginnivan is guaranteeing his Hawks will beat Port Adelaide in Friday night's semi-final and therefore travel to Sydney and face the Swans. Everyone has had their say on his comment, with some finding it funny and amusing, but you can make the case it is by far the dumbest comment an AFL player has said or written in history. But we'll get back to this later. To give full context on the current situation, we need to go through the past. We all know Ginnivan loves a celebration, being a personality in the sport, and simply having fun playing football. He may also love being the centre of the public's attention, although it may not have started out this way. If we go back to the 2023 Grand Final, it was reported the night before the game, Ginnivan and some friends were at Moonee Valley Racecourse between 6:30 and 9:30 PM. This came out in the morning of the Grand Final and was debated in the lead up to the game. It was detailed he wasn't drinking at all, and it's not like he stayed out until 2 AM. It was just a few hours he took to relax before, up until this point, the biggest game of his life. Collingwood ended up winning in an all-time great Grand Final, although Ginnivan did only play a minor part, recording 7 disposals from 67% time on ground. His former coach Craig McRae in his post-game press conference said, "Read the room, Jack," when questioned about his trip to the racecourse. Ultimately, his visit before the Grand Final was viewed by Collingwood as an unnecessary risk and a distraction, and partly why the contract they offered him was dwarfed by the 4-year deal Hawthorn signed him on. It genuinely felt like Ginnivan meant no harm in his pre-game trip to the races, and that it did help him get his mind off the Grand Final. On the Tommy Talks podcast, Ginnivan said, "Me and my mate went there at 6:30 and got home at 9:30. Like, it wasn't really that big of a deal," the 21-year-old said. "I don't think it's a mistake from my behalf, but probably just how people perceived it. It didn't look great, which would be the only thing I would change. In this instance, it does feel like the media leak was picking on a then 20-year-old who would garner some attention. But this is where things begin to change." Skip forward about 11 months, and the same thing happened again. The night before the elimination final against the Western Bulldogs, it was revealed Ginnivan had been to the London Tavern, a very busy Richmond pub, to have dinner with some friends. Again, he was not drinking or out late at night. Sam Edmund from SEN tweeted this, and as a cheeky reply, Ginnivan posted this photo with a sleeping emoji. It was classic Ginnivan and a great response. Hawthorn backed him in, and fair enough. This was the same mental preparation as going to the races, and surely helped take his mind off the following day. It really worked for him on the Friday night as well, as Hawthorn won by 37 points, and Ginnivan, especially in the second quarter, helped the Hawks get up and running and gain momentum. He had 15 disposals and kicked a goal, capping off the night with this celebration, and even as a Western Bulldog fan, I had to giggle to myself and give him props. This is where it gets a bit murky. The morning of the elimination final, Ginnivan again took to Twitter, writing, "Just went for a walk," putting a breaking news gif in his tweet. Fair enough, he felt the frustration of being reported on again, but he already replied to Edmund the night before. This did have a scent of an attention seeker, especially when you see that it has over 260,000 impressions. After the game, he also retweeted this picture of his celebration with the caption, "Love him or hate him, he still gets paid." On his Instagram, he himself uploaded the picture and said, "Bit of hush please, boo, Go Hawks! It's fair to say Ginnivan was feeling good about himself and his team and wanted to let the whole world know. Hawthorn and Sam Mitchell has enabled him, Nick Watson and Connor McDonald, to name a few, to express themselves like this, and it has been a big reason they are on a roll. But his latest act might come back to haunt him. Maybe Ginnivan was in a self-confidence haze and feeling extra good because the comment on Grundy's post is so risky and dumb on so many levels. Let's go through them. Firstly, Ginnivan is making the story of the game about him, and it's caused by his own actions. Although he chose to go to the races and pub in the previous stories, it's just a young man doing a normal thing, but because he is high profile, it magically becomes news. You do have to feel a touch of sympathy, because if that was me, it would be frustrating and annoying. But by replying to Grundy's photo, he knew his comment would instantly gather attention and have his name on high profile media shows. It worked and is something an attention seeker would do. If you argue and say it's a bit of fun between two mates, like Hawthorn did, well, why didn't he just privately message Grundy or call him? I think the answer is clear. It also is a selfish thing to do days before a huge game for your club, and is a distraction that could have easily been avoided and should have. There's no I in team, but there are two in Ginnivan. The Hawks ticked off the post publicly, but internally, you would have to think Sam Mitchell and maybe others would sit Ginnivan down and say enough is enough. It's all fun and games while you're winning and you can front run, but things in this game can change so quickly. On the Port Adelaide side of things, it's the ultimate disrespect. I get the celebrating and high-fiving, it's great, and as pointed out in this video, it makes for must-watch television. Ginnivan taunted the Collingwood fans, but that was fair. They were booing him all day, and as noted in this video, the club didn't really want him at the end of 2023. But to overlook this Port Adelaide team and look forward to a preliminary final is a massive mistake. The power of being smashed all week in Adelaide, and their coach in Ken Hinkley is literally fighting for his football life. They had a bad game, but aren't bums, and they finished second for a reason. The comment is such an easy thing for Hinkley to plonk up on his whiteboard and show his boys, and he doesn't even have to say a word to get some impact from it. If you were a Port Adelaide player, how would that comment make you feel? It's now impossible to picture the home team not breathing fire when the ball is bounced on Friday night. Ginnivan didn't just add fuel to the fire, but maybe he created a fire and some inspiration this Port Adelaide team desperately needed. His simple 12-character reply could be so costly to a side that has got more momentum than maybe any in the past decade. Make no mistake, Friday night is the most crucial game of Ginnivan's still very young career. It's by far more important than the 2023 Grand Final. If they lose as heavy road favourites and he plays poor, you can imagine what the reaction will be. He'll be copping the frontline media and most likely fan blows for the performance, and it sure is fair enough. The comment was just so unnecessary when you add in all the context and did nothing, literally nothing, to help his own football team. It was a selfish, dumb act that adds so much pressure to a team that up to this point was playing with more freedom than any. Ginnivan has no doubt been a victim of unnecessary media spotlight in the past, but he can't get away with this. He caused it, and if it goes wrong, all those people front running with him may turn around and point directly at him. The previous two times his name has been in the heat leading into a big game, he has survived, and he will be praying that the football gods are on his side for a third time.